Good day, everyone. We are Group 1 from ARC 251, and today we will be discussing about Immanuel Kant. We will tackle about his life, famous works and contributions to society, and Kant's philosophy about ourselves. Let us talk about the life of Immanuel Kant. Immanuel was fourth out of nine children. His father works as a harness maker, named Johann George Kant, and his mother Anna Regina Kant. Both of his parents were devoted supporters of Pietism during the 18th century. A local pastor saw Kant's potential, which led him to fund his education, thus making his appreciation for Latin classics grow. Kant then enrolled at the University of Königsberg as a theology student in 1740s, but ended up learning more towards about mathematics and physics. Unfortunately, his father passed away in 1746. He was forced to drop out at the university to support his family's needs. For the next several years, he worked as a tutor to the well-off families. At the same time, he was able to publish papers that discussed the scientific questions exploring the middle grounds between rationalism and empiricism. He continued to pursue his studies at the University of Königsberg in 1755. At the same time, he received his doctorate of philosophy. For the next 15 years, he worked as a lecturer, tutor, and wrote major works involving philosophy. Finally, in 1770, Kant became a professor at his alma mater to teach about metaphysics and logic. In 1781, Immanuel Kant published his work Critique of Pure Reason, where he explained how our personal experiences, challenges, and reasons have a connection to how we think and understand.
Good morning, everyone. This is Katrina Rasana, and the next topic I'll be sharing with you all is about Immanuel Kant's famous works and his contributions to society. But before we go to his contributions, let's first talk about his most important works. First, we have here Critic of Pure Reason. This book answers the question, what can I know? Or basically, it tries to answer, how do we really know things? In this work, Kant basically explains how our mind shapes the way we understand the world. What does it mean? Our knowledge is not just from the outside world. Our mind adds structure to it. Kant says that when we look at the world, we don't see it as it truly is. Instead, we see it through the lens of our mind. Things like space, like time, and cause and effect are so built into how we think. So, we can know things we experience, and this is called phenomena. But we can't know things beyond experience, and this is called noumena, like soul or God, because they can't be observed. In short, when we say phenomenon, these are something we are aware of. This is the world we construct out of the sensations that are present to our consciousness, while noumenon consists of things we seem compelled to believe in, but which we can never know because we lack sense evidence of it. And also in this work, he combined two big ideas in philosophy: rationalism, which means knowledge comes from the reason, and empiricism, knowledge comes from experience. Kant said both are important. Our mind uses reason, but we also need experience. So for Kant, the empiricists are right when they say that our knowledge depends upon our sensations. But the rationalists are right when they say we can know the basic laws that structure the world quite apart from any particular sense data. So we know, for example, that every event has a cause. But we know that because the mind interprets sense data, so that is true. In the next slide, we have Critic of Practical Reason. And this book explores the question, what should I do? Or how should I act? Something like that. Kant develops his moral philosophy here and introduces the categorical imperative, telling us to act only on principles we would want everyone to follow. This is Kant's most famous moral rule, and it means before you act, ask yourself if you want everyone in the world to do the same. And if the answer is no, then the action is not morally right. Example, if you consider lying, imagine a world where everyone lies. Trust disappears. So, lying is wrong. Immanuel Kant established deontological ethics, a moral framework that focuses on duty, moral rules, and the intention behind actions rather than their consequences. Deontological ethics, coming from the Greek word dion or duty, Kant believed that an action is morally right if it follows a moral rule or duty, even if the outcome isn't good. He also emphasizes duty based ethics. We do what's right because it's our responsibility, not just for the result. And he says we should do good because it is our duty, not because of any reward or consequences of it. So, morality is universal. The rule applies to everyone. For example, if you find a lost wallet, you should return it because we know that it's not ours and it's the right thing to do, not because you expect a reward. Next, we have here Critic of Judgment. And this book answers the question, what may I hope? Kant connects human freedom, beauty, and the natural world. He studies aesthetics, how we judge beauty, and teleology, the sense of purpose in nature. Basically, this work shaped art theory, creativity, and even influenced how we understand biology and nature's patterns. Let me elaborate how. So, Kant talks about aesthetics, how we judge beauty. He explains that our judgments of beauty are subjective, so this is based on feelings. But sometimes, we still expect others to agree with us, like when we say a sunset is beautiful. This is because beauty gives a sense of universal agreement, even if it's based on personal experience. He also explains teleology, the idea of purpose in nature. Kant says nature looks like it has purpose or design, but that doesn't mean it is literally designed. Instead, humans naturally interpret nature as if it has goals or structure. Next one is Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals. This book lays the foundation of Kant's moral philosophy. It clearly introduces the categorical imperative and emphasizes that people must always be treated as ends in themselves, never as tools. And it became essential for shaping ideas about human dignity, rights, and moral responsibility. And this is one of Kant's most important works on ethics. It sets up the basic ideas that he expanded later in Critic of Practical Reason. So, in this book, it introduces the categorical imperative clearly. This is Kant's main moral principle. It says, follow on rules that you believe everyone should follow. Treat people as ends in themselves, not as tools to get what you want. And of course, perpetual peace. So, this book answers the question, how can nations achieve lasting peace? Kant proposes practical rules: no secret treaties, no standing armies, respect for other nations' freedom, and fair treatment of foreigners. So, it influenced modern international laws and organizations now, like the United Nations. So, he wants a world where nations cooperate instead of fight. Kant believed that peace is possible if governments are responsible, citizens have rights, and countries follow laws, not force. In the next two slides, you will see and I will explain how Kant influenced different eras of knowledge. So, one of Kant's contributions to society is all about ethics and moral philosophy. So Kant created one of the most important moral system in history. He said morality is based on duty, not personal gain. We should treat people as ends, never as tools, and universal moral rules apply to everyone. He also argued that our mind actively organizes our experiences. We don't just receive information, our mind structures it. And this influenced psychology, cognitive science, or how we study perception and thinking. Modern theories about perception and reality. He also talks about the political philosophy. Through his work, Perpetual Peace, Kant promoted freedom, human rights, stable and peaceful governments, and actually many democratic theories today trace back to Kant. He also talks about epistemology and Kant bridged rationalism, reason based knowledge, and empiricism, which is experience based knowledge. He showed how both work together, and this became the foundation of modern philosophical thought. Of course, he contributed into aesthetics, the beauty and art theory. In his critique of judgment, Kant explored how we judge beauty. He said beauty feels subjective, a personal reaction, but we still expect others to agree with us. And this idea shaped modern aesthetic theory and the way we understand art, taste, and the sublime. And of course, he also explained that mind gives structure to our scientific knowledge. Science works because our mind organizes experiences in an orderly way. We see nature as lawful and predictable. So basically, he influenced biology, physics, how scientists think about natural laws and purpose.
Let us talk about Kant's philosophy and perspective about ourselves. Kant thinks that the self is what makes experience possible in the first place. It's not just sitting there, passively soaking things in. It's busy, always at work, pulling together all our sensations, thoughts, and perceptions so that the world makes sense to us as one connected whole. He doesn't see the self as just a body or a random pile of sensations. It's something deeper, working behind the scenes. The self uses these built in tools in the mind, and Kant calls them categories like unity, causality, time, and space to shape everything we perceive. Kant breaks the self into two levels. First, the empirical self. That's the you that you actually experience day by day, full of memories, feelings, and constant change. Then there's what he calls the transcendental self, or transcendental ego, the constant I behind all your experiences. It doesn't change, and it's what ties your conscious life together into a single stream. But here's the catch: being aware of yourself isn't the same as actually knowing yourself, not in any deep or complete way. The I think that pops up in all your thoughts only gives you the barest outline, just a sense that you're there, but not much more. You can never really get at your true self as it is in itself, beyond the way it appears to you. That innermost self stays out of reach. That is all. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed and learned something from our video.